In the last few verses, Krishna was telling that this cycle of performing action and sacrificing this action as a yajna, and because of that, the devas or the angels will bless us, and rains will be blessed with rains, and because of that crops will flourish, and the living beings on earth will be able to live happily eating those crops, food out of those crops. And this should go on and on and on. A human being, a being, not just a human being, any creature is born, and once it is born, anyone is born, right? We keep doing actions, and that action should be done as a yajna. And once that is done as a yajna, the effect, whatever that we are doing, I'm not doing for me or my people, not with that attitude, right? The actions are performed with a notion that I'm doing it for the supreme being. I don't attach myself, but the action itself should be done with perfection. It's not that, okay, I'm not doing it for me, so I will do it whatever way that I wanted to know. The action, any action that we are doing needs to be done to perfection, but there should not be any attachment towards the action in terms of I'm doing it for me, so I wanted it to do it for my own benefit. No, the action itself should be performed as a puja, just like how with all sincerity, devotion, that any action that we perform, that can be like taking care of our children, or preparing food for our own consumption, or any household chores, or even going to work and performing any tasks there, or interacting with friends, or interacting with relatives. Any action that this body does has to be done with that yajna mindset. Karma yoga, he says that is when we are perfectly doing the karma yoga. When all actions are done with such mindset that it is done with him, the supreme being, as the one and only beneficiary. I am not benefiting anything, but he is benefiting out of it by me performing it, and this body mechanically is doing it without mind getting attached to it. If one perfects that, then that person will not have any disappointments, dejections, frustrations, anger, or passion, or any such thing towards anything, but still that person will be doing it perfectly well, and the results will keep on happening, and this person himself is not unattached or unaltered, or not influenced by the outcome of his actions. Some actions may result in huge benefit for himself as well as for others, and few actions may be hard, just like right now Krishna is asking Arjuna to kill in the battlefield. That is not anything beneficial because it is taking the lives of others. But this person is unattached towards the outcome of it. He is only focused on the duty that he has to do at this point of time in life. So that is the secret of karma yoga. That's what Krishna says, and he says that I have created this. I have intentionally created this chakra wherein you perform your actions and you derive benefits from the devas through rains, so that the humanity will go on and on and on without interruption. And everyone is supposed, I am expecting everyone to contribute towards this chakra. If someone is not contributing, but still just working and doing things for himself or herself, then they are literally eating sins, the food that they eat, by just having a mindset of not having a mindset of yajna, but still they are earning eating. Then that is not really what is meant for. Be watchful, Arjuna, or the words of Krishna until the previous verse. Now in the next few verses, let's see what Krishna is about to say. Let me share my screen. Okay. Chapter 3, 17th verse. Yastvatmaratirev syad atmatriptascha manavah atmanyeva cha santushtah tasya karyam na vidyate. So in this shloka, Atmaratihi, Krishna is talking about a person called Atmaratihi. Atmaratihi is one who is ecstatic in his Atman. In his own being, he is ecstatic because he is Atma Triptaha. The next word, he is illuminated. He is illuminated already inside. He had seen his true nature. When I say he, it is also she. So he or she had seen the true nature of that Atman. And so they are ecstatic about it. The total happiness, the total bliss is nowhere outside, but it is totally inside. That person had experienced it, not just with the theoretical knowledge, not just having heard about the Atman, but also experienced that Atman totally. And so they feel every moment that consciousness of that Atman inside themselves. And that person is also satisfied totally inside that Atman. The second line says Atmanyeva, only in that Atman. Santushtaha means satisfied totally and only in that Atman. And that person is totally established in that Atman. And to that person, there is no action that is needed. There is nothing that is expected of that person. So, if you look at it, he talks about the enlightened person. That means that such a person exists in this earth. It is not that after death a person will attain enlightenment or any such thing. Enlightenment happens right when that person is alive, and that person is no longer disillusioned. Then that person is no longer swayed by external happiness. His happiness is not defined through indriyas. His happiness is totally by resting himself or herself in his own Atman. Such a person, there is no duty that is left. There is no action that need to be performed. This Krishna is declaring. So for everyone else who is in the path of reaching that place, action is a must. So corollary, right? We can derive some meanings out of it. When he says that to such a person there is nothing, then for rest of us, naturally, the meaning is we'll all have to do actions. We cannot escape from actions. So until we get that illumination inside, until that person is totally enlightened inside, actions, that person cannot run away from actions or responsibilities. What type of actions? Anything that we are right now performing. All actions are a must, because we haven't gotten to a state where we are happy with our being yet, right? That in order to get to that state, actions need to be performed. And when you are performing the actions, action should be done as a puja or yajna. And when we keep doing that dispassionately such actions, without attachment, such actions, without getting overwhelmed or emotionally burnt or emotionally involved in actions, in a detached way, if we are able to perform that action, then slowly we are evolving towards a state where we will derive satisfaction inside. This is more of a destination, what he is describing just now. One meaning to this is, to that person there is no action, and for to you, Arjuna, you have to do actions. And how do you do actions? Like using all the previous slokas that I mentioned, follow all those steps and do your action. When you do that action, you can reach that stage where you will derive your happiness right inside you. And then once you get to that stage, then there is nothing else need to be done, is what Krishna's argument is. Well, let's move on to the next verse to see what he says. Where's the next verse? One second. Yes. Not able to see the screen. Okay. Share. Okay. The next sloka is 18th verse. In this he says, Naiva tasya kritenartho na kriteneha kaschana na chasya sarva bhuteshu kaschidarthavyam pashrayah arthavyapashrayah kaschidarthavyapashrayah. So in this sloka, he says that naiva tasya kritenartho, to that person, by doing actions, to that person meaning to that person who is enlightened, who has already seen the Atma, experienced the Atma, to that person there is nothing going to be derived, no benefits, no gains is going to happen to him by doing some actions, nor is he or she going to get into any loss by not doing any actions. Naiva tasya, to that person, kritenartho, artho means gain, krite, to do, by doing any benefits going to happen, na kriteneha, not by not doing any actions, he is going to get any, not lose anything. Nachasya sarva bhuteshu kaschidatta vyapashrayah. From anyone, he is not dependent on anyone at all. Attavyapashraya. Attavyapashraya is dependent on anything from anyone. Since that person is totally now enlightened inside, he is freed from this bodily dependency in the first place. And once that happens, he or she, that person, need not perform any actions in order to do anything. So only that person can abstain himself from not doing it. Only that person can stay away from work or duty. Who has fully enlightened, whose soul is absolutely enlightened. He had seen and experienced his own Atma, and his own true nature is fully all evident to himself or herself. Such a person need not do any actions, but Arjuna, you should always be performing actions. You should always be performing your duty. Do not stray away. Do not say any reasons that you will run away from your duty. That is not an option to you. Only to that person who is enlightened, that's an option is available, because he is not dependent on anything or anyone. He doesn't have to perform such an action so that he will create rains, or he will have to get food, any such thing. He also had to has he I mean, that person should also eat. Everyone should eat, but to a person who is fully enlightened, there is no such requirement that you can eat or you will eat, only when you sacrifice your actions towards God. Why would Krishna say that? So that means that a person who is enlightened can do anything and then still not, how can, it doesn't add up. It's unfair, right? People will say, no fair, persons who are enlightened. Well, if you look at it, it is all quite absolutely fair. A person who is enlightened means that he should fully knows about the truth about himself and that Brahman, that super soul, or that universal mind, which is God, we call it, right? So that person knows the truth about this mind, individual mind or individual soul, and that universal soul, why it has been created, what is the relationship between this soul and that soul, everything inside him. That person knows that truth. Once that person knows the truth, naturally he will know, and it is established. It is not just knowing is not just listening, just what we are doing right now, and then, oh, I heard it, I know the truth. No, not that way of just listening, but experiencing it at the inner level, right? Experiencing is more important. Once such experience is established, then that person need not do, because what, all these actions, all this yajna that we have been asked to do as part of our actions, right, is all to reach that level, to experience that Atman. Right now, our mind is clouded, that we are not able to clearly see that Atman or experience that Atman, or what is God, who is God. It is all a hazy and a blurred idea about God that we all have, right? About ourselves and also about God. All we see is some physical world where everything is running fast, where material is absolutely essential. We cannot live with it, and we are driven by all these pleasures. Once that screen opens within ourselves, then we will see that experience. But for that screen to open, right now it is closed. That's why we are not able to, the door is closed. We are not able to see or appreciate. In order to open that door, actions need to be performed as a yajna. And once the actions are performed, and once the door is opened, then there is no need for doing such actions, is what he is intending. So all these actions are meant to open the door inside. So now people who are asking, right, many people, what is the meaning of life? It doesn't seem to have any meaning at all. Why should I do this? We're just waking up, doing these actions, going on and on. Where are we going towards it? This shloka is the meaning for it. The meaning of life itself is to perform actions, right? And do not, while doing those actions, do it as a sacrifice. So what that means is not live for yourself, live for others. How much we can help, because the moment you have to do it as a sacrifice, you cannot say that I will do it for myself and I will say that I will do it as a sacrifice. Of course we will have to eat, we will have to do, we will have to buy dress for us and all, but then that is just the bare minimum of living, right? That is just the essential part of it. We cannot live without eating, we cannot live without dressing up, we cannot live. So such actions need to be performed, but they are not the main actions. Our life should be filled with actions that are only for the betterment of others. This body is created for the betterment of others. If everyone thinks that way, then you can naturally think that how this world will be, right? But none of us are willing to do that. And the moment if someone is willing to do that, the other person will put him down, saying that why you are thinking, why not the other person start first? That is how we are all in a race, that who should start first. I don't want to start first. I don't want to live for others, right? That thought every individual will have to ask oneself and then say that okay, let me be the person, let me be the loser. What is so big deal about it? I'm not losing anything, because everything belongs to him, and I'm just an agent in this world. I've been given a body and I've been given a life. Fortunately I have been given something, some resources, some money, few good things, friends, and good life. So now let me just be of help to others. Such thought is what we'll also will have to evolve towards. Then life will have its own meaning. The moment we will start living for others, then life has its meaning. Not when I go inside myself. That meditation and all is different. Still, we will have to do it. But pampering ourselves. How can I be good? How can I take care of my body? Oh, I have a lot of disease. I'll have to take this medicine, that medicine, that medicine. Or I'll have to work out well so that I stay fit. All those things are good, but not to the extent of, being over. We'll have to be fit. I'm not denying that fact. We'll have to do exercise, we'll have to do workouts. All those things are essential. Do not interpret my words incorrectly. They are essential, but not to the extent, you know what I'm referring to, that my physique is the best physique in this world. I want to win the bodybuilding champion, or I want to be. That is a little bit extreme, right? That means that I'm thinking only about myself I component. Then that is not definitely the way to see our inner door opened. Inner door will open when we start living for others, is the point that he is driving. Now with that, we'll move to the next verse. Tasmadasakta satatam karyam karma samachara asakto hyacharan karma paramapnoti purushaha. So with this sloka, he is just driving the point that all along he has been saying. Therefore, we say that, right? We'll tell a lot of things, arguments, this, that. So, I want you to do this. Argument 1, argument 2, argument 3, argument 4. So, that is why, Arjuna, I wanted you to do this. That is why now Krishna is in that sloka. Tasmat means therefore. Tasmadasakta satatam. Asaktaha. Asaktaha is again unattached, detached. Satatam, constantly. So even if you have not attended the previous sessions, or if you have not understood the previous session slokas, this sloka puts it in a precise way what needs to be done. Okay, so now let's listen to that. Asaktaha is without attachment. Satatam, constantly, karyam, karma, actions or duties, samachara, with perfection, asakto hi acharan karma, by performing actions in a detached way, proceeding with to prepare proceeding to do actions in a detached way, paramapnoti purushaha. Paramapnoti purushaha is that person attains the supreme state. That person who performs their actions with detachment, as a yajna, as a puja, constantly, not just 1 week or 2 weeks. You have to do it. We have to do it with detachment, not just 1 or 2 weeks, constantly, forever, every day, every action, every moment, constantly. Samachara, not just uh, you know half done job or half interested, disinterestedly, with absolute involvement. Do your actions with perfection. What actions? All actions that you are working on. So you might have heard about this Dr. MLK, who lived in the US during 1961-62 civil rights movement. He was an African American leader who lived around 1961, and who was for the who was responsible for the civil rights movement, fought for the lesser privileged, right? The slavery movement, even though slavery movement and all are abolished, still he stood in front to make sure that laws were created for the underprivileged. So he used to say in his famous speech that if you happen to be a, God forbid doesn't happen, but worst case, if you happen to be a street sweeper, right, the long broomstick, street sweeper. If you happen to be a street sweeper, sweep the streets so well that even the angels who are living in the sky, let them descend and look at the way that you are sweeping the streets and wonder, wow, this person is sweeping the streets so well, and he had swept so well. Sweep your streets so well that let the angels descend on earth and wonder about the way that you work. That is how we used to say to motivate the people. So now if you look at it, those are the words. Perfection, he means here. Krishna says that samachara, do it with perfection. If you are preparing, if you are at work doing a trivial job, let's say, that can be something like, you know, as simple as how are you also. You're just asking a colleague, how are you doing? Do it with sincerity in your heart. That's simple. And any job, anything and everything, do it with sincerity, do it with total dedication. And we are doing a lot of hundreds of work at home also, right? Do every work with dedication and sincerity, same amount of sincerity. But while doing it with sincerity and the dedication doesn't mean getting attached to it. Do it with detachment, but yet do it with perfection. When someone angels look at it, they should say 100% very good job, right? That is what here he is recapping, saying that do the job perfectly well, yet with a detachment, and do it forever. That is karma yoga. That's what he's deriving here in this shloka. Now let's move on to the next verse where he talks about something interesting. This is chapter 3, verses 20 and 21. कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम् आस्तीता जनकादयः लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि यद्यदाचरति श्रेष्ठः तद्तदेवेतरो जनः स यत् प्रमाणं कुरुते lokastadanuvartate. Now he says, interestingly, Krishna talks about Janaka, that was Sita's father. He says that even Arjuna, you are hesitating to take up arms in this battle. But do you know that even Sita's father Janaka and all, they also followed the path of Karma Yoga. They performed actions, Arjuna, and then they attained Siddhi. They attained Moksham only by performing actions. So, Loka Sangrahamevapi, at least for considering the benefit of people, you will have to perform actions. Let's see a small story about Janaka. Then we will understand this, why Krishna is stressing Janaka as his mentor. Now, if you look at it, Krishna is born in Dwapara Yuga. Treta Yuga, the previous Yuga, Rama was born, right? And when he himself, Krishna was born, Krishna was the one who was born as Rama, and Rama's father-in-law was Janaka. Even in that birth itself, Rama wanted to celebrate his father-in-law, right? But it won't look that good. It'll be awkward if he praises his own father-in-law, right? And it will be rare also for even people to praise their own father-in-law. So that's why probably Rama was wanting to praise his father-in-law. He didn't do it. In the next birth, when he was born as Krishna, he took that opportunity. Now he is praising father-in-law. That's how people will say about this verse. They will, jokingly remark that Krishna is just praising his father-in-law. Now, jokes apart, why did he take Janaka as an example? Janaka was a great king. A king, after all, great king or not is next. He was a king. You know that the responsibilities of the king are no less, right? It's 100%, 24 hours of work. You'll have to be watchful. Enemies are attacking. Enemies can be can be launching their attack on the country at any moment without notice. So anything can happen unexpectedly. You should be ready to protect the people and the kingdom. That was his responsibility, right? And he'll have to make sure that people in the country that he is ruling live happily. Food is provided, clothes are there, and there is no poverty. And he had to manage financially, economically, socially. All responsibilities rest with the king. Even with that, so he cannot even relax for a moment. Even with that, Arjuna, Janaka followed the path of the Karma Yoga. So the Karma Yoga is not something that people who are living in the Himalayas, where they just renunciated their life. But Janaka, who was the most busiest you can imagine, who followed the Karma Yoga, then what about you? What about us? Right? What about you or me? We are all normal people. We are not that busy. We are not that held up like the king, who will hardly have any free time to think about Karma Yoga and all. right? We all have lot of free time to think about it at least. But Janaka followed the Karma Yoga. That means that every action that he did as a king, he didn't say that, okay, he didn't do it, that I'm doing it as a king, so I should get name, fame, or popularity. But he did it as a responsibility that he should do it, and he did it as a puja, as a yajna, every action that he performed. That is what Krishna is driving towards here. And we know about Janaka's greatness. Janaka was attending, he was a king, but still he wanted to learn. And so he was attending the lectures of Yajnavalkya. Yajnavalkya was the guru who was having his classes in the outskirts of the city, where he had a lot of disciples, students who used to assemble, and he used to teach the meanings of Atma and body, the difference between Atma and the body, and why you should, why Atma is constant, Atma is eternal, and how body is ephemeral, impermanent. He talked all the differences. Every once in a while, Janaka used to attend that lecture sessions. So whenever he attended, Yajnavalkya, the guru, will reserve the front seat for him, and other students didn't that much liked it. They thought that, okay, our guru is giving so special preference to, because not that he's Janaka is also one more student. What is so great about it? Why is he giving so much of importance to Janaka? Just because he's the king, so our guru is influenced by that? They were thinking. Yajnavalkya realized that our students didn't understand the greatness of Janaka, and so he thought that one day um, he will reason that out with him. So one day when the classes were going on, Yajnavalkya, the guru, with his uh, powers, created an illusion that this entire Mithila is a city that from which Janaka was ruling, right? So Janaka was in the front seat. He was sitting to the listening to the lectures, and other students were also listening to the lectures. At that time, Yajnavalkya decided to create an illusion that the entire Mithila is under fire, burning. So all other disciples, students, they looked around, the fire is spreading in, and it's any time they are going to be engulfed in the fire. So they all started running away to their apartments to get whatever that they had saved, all those things. But Janaka didn't even move an inch. He was just still sitting in front of his guru and listening to his lectures. Now after a while, Yajnavalkya removed all the illusion, all the students were back. And they all wondered that Janaka didn't move. Now Yajnavalkya asked, when everyone else ran away, why didn't you move? Then Janaka answered, saying that I learnt it from you, that Atman is permanent and it lives forever, and no fire can burn it. Even if this fire is going to burn me, it is going to just burn my body. And my Atman, that is safe and precious, sitting inside eternally, that can never be destroyed by fire, nor can it be drowned by water, nor can it be dried up by wind, or nor can it be cut into pieces or pierced by any weapons. I learnt everything from you, so why should I run away? I understood that it is all a Maya. So that is when rest of the students realized the greatness of Janaka. So that story was one that speaks about the greatness of Janaka. There is one more story that speaks about his greatness. That was when Janaka was one day sitting in the palace and listening to the arguments of his ministers and scholars. They were debating about various issues, things, and it was around afternoon, so he was just listening to everything. Slightly he had a heavy lunch apparently, so he dozed off. Just dozed off. In that he had a dream. In the dream, enemies were attacking his kingdom, and he was fiercely defending the enemies. But towards the end, they defeat him. He was totally routed. All his army was destroyed, and he was left all alone. Now he starts walking, literally with no one around him. He just starts walking and walking without knowing where to go, because the kingdom is all occupied. He was driven out of the kingdom. So he was just walking and walking. Nobody around. After a while, when he reached a small city, there he saw, when he reached there, he was hungry, he was parched, he wanted food. He looked around. There was this city where there was a small dharmashala where people are just standing in a queue to get food. And so he went there. He asked a few people for food, and they said that go to that dharmashala and then get food. So he also joined the line and waited for his turn to get food. Towards the end, when his turn came, the person who was giving the food, he said that we ran out of food, there is no more food. Then he was totally dejected. He looked for water, he didn't get. He started walking again, and luckily he got hold of some little food that was lying in the trash. He thought that okay, he will pick that up and he will eat it. And he had it on his hand almost. Around the time a bird flew in, and it just took off that food while spilling some of one or two grains of food on the floor, whatever that it was. So he was like, my food, my food. When he was about to say my food, he opened his eyes. My food. So the ministers who were sitting in his court observed that Janaka was saying, my food, what happened to my food? Then they asked him what happened. Then he admitted that I slept off and I had a dream. In that dream this all happened. But now I have I have one question. Would any one of you be able to answer? Then those scholars and the ministers eagerly looked at Janaka. Janaka asked this question. When I was in the dream, that seemed quite real, true. And when I opened my eyes, I'm here in front of all of you as a king. So I don't understand whether that was dream or the one that I'm living right now is the dream. Which one is real? Which one is dream? What if that was real and this was a dream? That became a big opening discussion for him to think about what is the truth in life. You all think about it for a moment. What if that all this life is just a dream? I used to wonder about it. It's an amazing thing to think about it. What if we are going to wake up one day and then say that what? All these things are just a dream? That's a revolutionary idea, though, if you think about it, right? What if that is the truth? It is not just an idea, but it is the truth. That whatever that we are living is just a dream. That it seems like it. The reasoning is this. Yesterday, whatever that had happened yesterday, no one, you cannot go back to that. Now, the basic things about dream is, how can you say whether it is dream or not? The basic fundamental definition of dream is, I cannot have a dream that you had, or others cannot have what I had. A dream is unique to that person. right? So our life, if you look at it, my life is unique to myself. Since the day that I was born to this person, and I studied in this school, I took this life, I took my unique life and your unique life. So they're just like a dream. And what had happened in the dream, I cannot myself go back into the dream again. Whatever dream I had yesterday, I cannot go back into the dream again. Once a dream is done, a dream is done. Even as much as I wanted to go back into it, right? So that is true even yesterday. Whatever life that I lived yesterday, if I want, can I get back that yesterday? No, yesterday is gone forever, right? So the only difference is the five indriyas will have no effect in a dream, and here the five indriyas have an effect. And one more thing is this: you will never, in a dream, if you look at it, you will never know how you landed in that situation in a dream. In your dream, you can never reason out saying that, oh, I was here first and then I got into that place. All of a sudden, the tiger will be behind you and you'll be running, right? That's all you know. How you got there, how that you cannot explain about a dream. Same is true with us. How we got into this world, we don't have any clue. We are just living our life. So what if that whatever life that we are living on is just a dream? So that was what Janaka had. And Janaka asked many people who could not answer the question, and ultimately Ashtavakra. I'm sure a few days ago we had seen the story of Ashtavakra during our Srimad Bhagavatam, when we were looking at Srimad Bhagavatam or even Mahabharatam. In that we saw the story of Ashtavakra, who walks in and who educates and enlightens Janaka. Because the question was intelligent question. How many of us will ask such questions? Right? The question itself should be intelligent, not the answer. Answer, of course, is. But first thing, are we asking ourselves intelligent questions is what we should ask ourselves. What if this is not a dream? Is that question. Now, Krishna here says that such Janaka himself has reached the perfection through Karma Yoga, Arjuna, and so you should also perform it. And then he backs it up with one more argument. The second sloka he says, Yadyadacharati shreshtaha taddadevetaro janaha. Whatever prominent persons, whatever actions that a prominent person does, the normal people, common people will follow that person. And so, sayat pramanam kurute, that prominent person, whichever takes it as an authority, whatever that person considers as an authority, the rest of the people will also follow that as the authority. And so it is your responsibility, Arjuna, when you are doing when you are in the midst of this battlefield and you are saying that you are going to walk away and do the jnana yoga. No, many other normal people are looking up to you as their hero. Arjuna is not a normal warrior, right? There are 100,000 warriors, but Arjuna is superior, the most brilliant and the most efficient. He's not a normal warrior. And so you are the most famous personality. And you, being the most famous personality, should take an authority that others can also follow. If you do anything incorrectly, then rest of the people will blindly go behind you whatever you do, because they have so much trust in you. And so be careful and be warned that you will have consequences, in that people will be behind you and people will adopt the measures and practices that you adopt. So doubly apply your mind, so think about it and do the right thing. That means that you should do the karma yoga. That is the most appropriate, so that people can also do it. So karma yoga is not that difficult for people. But if you take jnana yoga and if you just abandon, don't do anything, you just abandon and you walk out from the war, then those common people will also follow suit. They will also say that tomorrow when there is a need to do that duty, they will say that why should I do the duty? Even Arjuna, my hero, he abandoned from the war front. So why should I do it? So that means that even when Krishna was there, he abandoned. Why should I do it? That is why you should not do such abandoning thing. Number two, you should not go on the jnana yoga path also, because that is hard for others. It is not that easy. It has its own complications. And so, but the daily living their life is quite easy for others. Doing their actions, everyone does actions. Slight mental shift in doing the action, that everyone can practice at least. So I wanted you to be a successor and a leader so that others can follow you, is what now Krishna is putting forth an argument to Arjuna, making him accept his ideas. Now um, if you look at it again and again, why with so many slokas Krishna is trying to say the same meaning? Do the actions without attachment, and perform the yajna, and that is the best. Is it not enough if you just say with one shloka? It seems to be like a lot of repetition to me. That's what these days we will say. But a great teacher is one who repeats the same point from multiple dimensions, so that that point gets into the student's mind, riveted, stays there, established, so that that person follows that. Right? That was his intention here. So even when the stress has to be laid, it has to be analyzed from multiple angles, dimensions. From every angle, Arjuna, karma yoga seems to be the best. Janaka, if you wanted to have some examples, let me give you some examples. Janaka and others, they have done the karma yoga. And if you wanted to look at not Janaka like people, normal people, they will have to do it. So for them, you will have to do the karma yoga only, because this is easier. Right? And if you are not interested in Janaka or other people, do it, because that is the chakra that I have created. That is when you will get food, because rains have to flow down. At least for that purpose, you will have to do it. And even if you are not for that, at least you have to do it for your, if you are interested in enlightenment or your inner Atman experience, for that you will have to perform actions. That is when inner door will open. So there are multiple angles. From that, he's deriving that doing actions is the one and only option. Do it with the yajna mindset, is what he is clearly saying. And then the last, not the last, but the next verse that he is saying is tasma das. Okay, yeah, that is the shloka that he said. One more last shloka, we'll just finish with that, where he says, Name parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana nanavaptam avaptavyam vartayeva cha karmani. Name parthasti kartavyam. Hey Partha, hey Arjuna, to me, I don't have anything to do. Trishu lokeshu, in all three worlds, in this material world, in the heavenly world, or in the spiritual world. In these three worlds, I exist. Without me, nothing happens. Every moment, I sit inside everyone and perform all actions, including their heart functioning, her kidney functioning, her liver functioning, their intestines, their lungs, their breathing. Everything happens because of me, Krishna says here. And they think that these humans think that they are doing it and they are living their life, but no. I am sitting inside and doing this. So first, Trishu Lokeshu, that means that three worlds, right? Three worlds, you can think of it like one is this physical world, and the other one is the heaven world, right? What we call it as heaven. Other one is the spiritual world, which is the moksha world. That is one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is inside our body. Three worlds exist. First world is this physical body. Physical body is every action in this physical body. You can think of it as this whole physical world. Then the mental world, right? We have that mind, which is the virtual world. We have our own imaginations, we have our own beliefs, opinions, thoughts, feelings, everything that makes up our world. When you think about it, that is our world inside. Then our spiritual world, which is the Atman, world of the Atman. So inside our body, three worlds exist. So here in this shloka, Trishu Lokeshu Kinchanam, we can interpret it as even in this body, I am there everywhere in these three worlds, or everywhere else across every other universe. You can, the whole universe, you can think of it, cannot even operate 1 second, 1 moment without me doing my job. So the reason that Krishna is saying that even I, Arjuna, am not exception to this rule. I am performing my duties. I am performing my actions continuously. That is what we see, that in this entire universe, this Brahman is just operating on its own. Every moment, everywhere, it is just the trees are growing, the leaves are growing, the wind is blowing, the ocean is flowing, the mountains are all there, the sun is going around, the earth is spinning around, solar system is all moving, drifting, the stars are all drifting. The entire universe is just operating itself, operating on by itself. Every moment, every inch of space is operating. So that means that it is not resting for a while. For a second, he is not taking a rest. So when I as Krishna, am not resting, Arjuna, then what about you? You cannot abandon this battlefield and run away. So you will have to put up your good good foot forward, is what Krishna is trying to tell here to Arjuna, that best foot forward, not good foot. So be there and do the job, is what in this shloka, because I am doing it, Janaka is doing it, and others have to do it, so do it, is what he is driving toward. With that, we come to the end of this session. Rest of the shlokas, how it goes, we will see in the next few weeks sessions. Thank you very much. Shriyah Kantaya Kalyana Nidhaye Nidhayerthinam Shri Venkata Nivasaya Srinivasaya Mangalam. Sarvam Sri Krishna.